Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you at the start of another week. First of all, to all of you parents out there who have just dropped your kids off at school this morning for the first time in, well, God, what's felt like about a year, but it's been a couple of months. Well done on getting through the whole home schooling lark. God, that was tough, wasn't it? I bet you're all feeling as relieved as me to see them back learning where they should be and not at home, which has been an absolute mission. But anyway, well done to you all. Just thought I'd pop on this morning and talk a little bit about something a little bit different today. The Arsenal financial results. I'm sure some of you have seen them. They came out right at the end of last week. And I thought I'd discuss them a little bit more. Thanks mainly to the help of Swiss Ramble, who, if you don't follow Swiss Ramble on Twitter, you really, really should. If you want to know more about football finances, not just Arsenal, but all football finances of clubs and their financial results and what they all mean and how they're broken down. Swiss Ramble always does a fantastic job of making it easy to understand if you, like me, at a bit of a dunce when it comes to financial matters. I mean, I can't even control my own finances, barely, let alone sort of work out exactly what the financial results of a multi-million pound company is. But Swiss Ramble does a fantastic job of it, and I'll drop his Twitter handle into the comments section below, and if you want to click on that and follow it, and he goes through in great detail but understandable detail about Arsenal's recent financial results and what they mean, and how they compare to other clubs and how it could sort of mean what it could mean going forward, as well as the effects of the coronavirus pandemic continues to bite. But I thought I'd go over some of the sort of headline things from it, what it means, what it could technically mean to Stan Kroenke. Would he sell? Might he sell? Might he be forced to sell? That sort of thing in today's video. So we'll get started, shall we, on that. I mean, the big sort of headline from it all really is that Arsenal have made a loss for the year ending May 2020, which obviously only really caters for the last few months of the pandemic, because football obviously finished in March 2020, didn't start up again until after the end of the financial year. So this only really counts for about 3 months worth of COVID, which, when you think what the headline is, the fact Arsenal have made a loss of after tax of 48 million, and that only includes a tiny little bit of the pandemic, not this entire full year now that they've gone, shows you how bad the accounts are going to be next year, and just how crippling this pandemic has been for football clubs' finances, even at the very, very top level. So remember, this is just from the year ending May 2020, and the losses, it's massive. It's widened from, before tax anyway, it was widened from 32 million to 54 million. Revenues dropped 51 million from 395 million to 343 million. Expenses grew. That was kind of offset by the player sales, which were very high that year because of mainly Iwobi, and there was Christian Bielik as well. I think it was 48 million. It rose to 60 million in terms of player sales, and Arsenal aren't going to have that to fall back on this time around. The only sort of significant sale you've got to remember last summer was that of Emi Martinez to Aston Villa. So Arsenal made a lot of money last year in the year sort of ending 2020 that they could put into their accounts, and they're pretty thankful for that. So you think the loss after tax increased from increased 27 million to 48 million pounds, and that is with 60 million being made from player sales. So it could have been a hell of a lot worse had Arsenal not got what was a very, very good deal done for Alex Iwobi, and that shows how important selling well is at the moment, especially to Arsenal's finances without Champions League football. And last summer, like I said, only Emi Martinez was the main sort of significant sale, and so that 60 million figure is going to be drastically less, around the sort of 20 million pound mark this time around. So yeah, that's the big headline loss really, 48 million after tax. When you think last year, which I think was around 21 million, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was that was their first loss since 2002, and now they've posted losses for 2 successive years, and this one was very, very big. And next year, you think it's going to be absolutely, you're talking well over £100 million loss next year because of the coronavirus pandemic. That's just how dramatic effect the pandemic is having on football club finances. So it's sort of looking at what's been impacted by COVID, or initially in these accounts, remember again, which only really caters for about 3 months worth of the pandemic and 3 months worth of no football. Broadcasting fell 64 million from 183 to 119. Matchday revenue dropped 17 million from 96 to 79 million. Commercial did rise, which was good. Obviously, the Adidas deals and the Emirates deals kicking in, that rose 31 million. So again, that was Arsenal very thankful for that. They had the increase in the commercial deals. The wage bill fell 7 million to 225 million. That's what it stood at the end of last financial year. And there was exceptional charges of 10 million, and that basically counted for Unai Emery and his coaching staff's sacking. So that wouldn't be in, well, unless Mikel ends up getting sacked, that sort of figure is not going to be in the next one. Excluding COVID, again, Swiss Ramble states that Arsenal's revenue would have been £54 million higher, as £34 million in broadcasting was deferred and 20 million was lost in terms of match day revenue because of those months, those few games that were played behind closed doors for Arsenal. Not behind closed doors, sorry, those matches that were lost that had to be cancelled or put off until later on in the summer. Player savings, there was £19 million worth, including the player wage cut, so that helped a little bit, but they still would have made £19 million loss. So yeah, the player sales, those were very key. Certainly the Alex Iwobi deal, I mean, that was a fantastic deal for Arsenal. You think sort of 35 rising up to 35 million for Iwobi, that's a fantastic deal and really, really important for Arsenal. I think what these financials really show is just how much Arsenal need Champions League football. You know, their whole business model is based, or has been based for so long, around qualifying for the Champions League, which was considered a everyday thing for Arsenal under Arsene Wenger for those 2 decades long. But now it's been so long without it, and Arsenal's finances are really, really being hampered because of it. The Europa League does provide some, but barely any. I mean, you look at it here. The £343 million revenue that Arsenal had was the 6th highest in the Premier League. But, they're drastically behind. You look at Man United, 509 million, Liverpool, 490, Manchester City, 482. They're still way behind Tottenham even. And that's just showing the effect of not having Champions League football and what it means for Arsenal. It's something that obviously you want to see back quickly. Arsenal want to see back quickly. They've invested to try and do that. They've spent a lot of money on bringing players in recently. It hasn't really worked. You look at obviously Pepe, a huge amount of money, albeit staggered over a period of time. Thomas Partey, that sort of thing. But so far it hasn't worked. The money that they've thrown at it to try and get back to Champions League football has not worked, and they're still lagging behind. And now the finances are in real trouble, and they're not alone. Everyone's is. You look at all the loss that Arsenal post here is actually less than some of the other clubs that have posted their accounts already. Tottenham's was higher. I think Everton's was way higher. Brighton's was higher even. So Arsenal aren't alone in this. This is just what football clubs are having to deal with now. But I think what it does show still is that how bad it already is, how bad it's going to get when next year's accounts come in. Because they are the accounts that are going to really show the effects of the pandemic. And like I said, it's going to be hundreds of million, well in over £100 million losses for Arsenal. And that Tottenham are predicting, I think, about £150 million, £160 million loss for that year. And Arsenal is going to be very, very similar, considering the business models at the moment are fairly similar as well. So real tough times for Arsenal financial. Real big job on for a lot of the guys who are sort of working behind the scenes, the top dogs at Arsenal. They're certainly having to balance things. We've seen that Stan Kroenke has allowed them to sort of move loans around. He's taken loans on and things like that in terms of paying off less interest, that sort of thing. But even so, it's difficult times, and you do wonder what Stan Kroenke must be thinking over in the States. And it's not just Arsenal will be having an effect on his finances. LA Rams, all his sporting franchises, because all sports are in the same boat. The broadcasting revenues would have fallen. Match day revenue absolutely hit the floor as things are having to be played behind closed doors. So difficult times for Stan Kroenke. I'm sure no one's going to shed too many tears over that from Arsenal fans. And it'll be interesting, what happens now for Kroenke. Do you sell? Do you look to sell? If ever he's going to sell Arsenal, you'd think this could be the point, because he's going to be hemorrhaging money, you'd think, or his investment is going to be hemorrhaging money, because you do have to actually put Arsenal here and put Stan Kroenke here because we know that Stan doesn't put his own money in, really. Arsenal is a self-sustainable model, so the money that Arsenal are losing is their money and not Stan Kroenke's money. But Stan Kroenke's investment in terms of shares, that sort of thing, may well be starting to take a hit now because of Arsenal's financial picture is not going to be as healthy. So you wouldn't have thought share prices, that sort of thing, is going to be healthy. And that's where Stan's investment at Arsenal has been. It's been in the shares, and it's not been in the club itself. And I think we all know that. So could he sell? And if to, who to? Well, we know that Aliko Dangote, the richest man in Africa, has long since spoken about wanting to buy Arsenal. He's an Arsenal fan. I think you sort of look at his wealth. I think he's worth more than Stan in terms of the rich lists. You kind of see figures change, you know, worth 11.5 billion, 13.5 billion. Who knows what it is, but he's a lot. He's a multi-billionaire, so he earns a lot of money. And he's always talked about buying Arsenal, but he's always had this caveat of that he wouldn't do it until this huge oil refinery that he's been building in Lagos in Nigeria is finished. That is due to finish very, very soon. And I think you read some of the comments he's made in the past. He says Arsenal is a team that I would like to buy someday. But what I keep saying is we have £20 billion worth of projects, and that's what I really want to concentrate on. I'm trying to finish building the company, and then after we finish, maybe sometime in 2021, we can go for Arsenal. I'm not buying Arsenal right now. I'm buying Arsenal when I finish all of these projects because I'm trying to take the company to the next level. Now, those comments were made in January 2020. He talks about this big oil refinery in Lagos needing to be finished first. Now, that is due to be finished this year, early this year. And so we'll see if he's going to back up his comments with words and try and at least enter into some sort of discussion with Stan Kroenke about buying Arsenal. Now, my personal opinion on this is I still can't see Stan Kroenke selling Arsenal. He's not one to ever sell, really. Obviously, these are very difficult, different times, and the financial nosedive that these sort of companies are taking because of coronavirus may force him into taking a different sort of decision that he would usually take. But I still can't see Stan Kroenke selling Arsenal. There's never been any indication that's going to happen. He's always said he's going to be in it for the long term. The family's going to be in it for the long term. You know, Josh will be around even if Stan Kroenke, because he's not the youngest anymore, Stan Kroenke ends up retiring at some stage and going off to live on one of his big ranches in the States. That Josh is, you know, being trained up to be taking over the whole thing in terms of KSC. So I just can't see them going anywhere anytime soon, I have to say. And even if Dangote does get in contact and talk about the possibility of some sort of a takeover at Arsenal, I'd be very surprised if Stan ever shows any sort of willingness to enter into discussions. We saw what happened with Usmanov, and that went on for years. Usmanov wanted to talk to Kroenke about it. He stuck around for ages. Kroenke never had any of it. He was never interested in any sort of discussion with Usmanov, and I would imagine should Dangote try and do the same sort of thing, that he'll get the same response that Usmanov did, and Stan won't sell. But we'll have to wait and see how that progresses over the next year or so, and whether Dangote even does try and launch a bit of a takeover bid, which he's suggested in the past that he will. So there you go. There's me trying to do my best at talking about Arsenal finances. As I said at the start of this video, I am rubbish when it comes to this sort of thing. Can barely put enough money in my own pocket to survive, let alone know what these guys are doing with their multi-million pound deals. But Swiss Ramble, as I said, and I've got a lot of this info from Swiss Ramble's thread that he posted on Twitter this morning. Please do go over and have a look at it. I'll post a link to that down below in the comments section. Go and give it a click and read through it all. It's really, really interesting stuff, and it will paint a real good picture for you in terms of where Arsenal are with their finances at the moment, and just how bleak things are, really, because of the coronavirus pandemic. That's about it for today's video. Not much else to report. I'm a bit quiet at the moment since that draw at Burnley behind me, which started so well with that Aubameyang goal and ended up being a bit of a disappointment in the end. There will be a press conference on Wednesday morning. I believe it is set now for the Olympiacos game. Mikel Arteta will be speaking to the press before Arsenal fly out to Athens for that one. I will, as usual, pop on here afterwards, do a video talking about what Mikel had to say. Until then, please do follow me Keep checking at my social media for any Arsenal news that breaks, and head over to goal.com for all your latest Arsenal and footballing needs. And enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. I'll speak to you very, very soon. See you later.